Coming up on the Unmasking Minds, Empowering Mental Health Conversations podcast.
I didn't have parents. That's a tough thing to swallow.
Childhood trauma and how it could affect your mental health.
Yeah, we didn't have an opinion.
Yeah, we didn't. Because we essentially were. It was not beat out of us. It was trauma out of us.
We're bringing back two guests who had traumatic childhoods, and they'll explain how they are coping with that experience in adulthood.
We lasted this long, mentally sound, is because of the fact that we were born together.
A deeper dive into their story coming up on the podcast. Hey y'all, what's up? It's your boy Anthony Redmond, also known as The Doc. Welcome to the Unmasking Minds, Empowering Mental Health Conversations podcast, the show where we're aiming to break the stigma surrounding mental health. And we want everyone involved in the conversation, because if we all work together to help tackle this problem, we'll be able to inspire change. Today's show, we are diving deeper into the impact childhood trauma could have on a person. Joining us again are Brandon and Byron Shelby, twins who were abandoned by their parents at such a young age. They were on our show before. Let's take a look at a clip from the episode.
It's only one thing worse than having a drug addicted parent, and that's having two. Well, we had two. We lived with both of them.
For us, our story began, especially when it talked about abandonment, back in 1988. With our two drug-addicted parents, not uncommon at that particular time. Is when the entire country was reeling in the black community from this new thing called crack, and it took hold of our parents. Same with heroin as well. And there was a time where our parents made the choice to get better, and they did so abruptly. They didn't necessarily sit us all down and tell us what tomorrow was going to look like without them being there. It just kind of just left. And I guess that manifests itself in many different ways throughout our lives, because we didn't talk about it before, and we certainly didn't talk about it afterward.
Such a powerful story. And I have many more questions than I have, and I want to dive deeper into my viewers ask me questions about what happened. So thank you for coming back and to share this deep inner emotions that you're dealing with, okay? So what happened? What happened on that Christmas morning when you said that your parents said they was coming back and you didn't see them for some time? What happened? Take me back to that day, that morning. Walk us through on what happened that day.
What I recall was our mother and father on Christmas morning just simply weren't there. And there was some things that occurred that we kind of were left, we were left out of the details of what led up to that Christmas morning where they weren't there. But we didn't see them for some time as a result. I remember some days later, my aunts and uncles kind of gathering together, and we were met with a social worker who, kind of got us all around, corralled us, and, amongst the calamity, we were essentially asked, who would we like to go with? And we know our aunties and uncles at that particular time? We did, but we didn't have that type of, that relationship up until that point where we had these deep bonds. We saw them on your normal holidays and things of that nature, but that was pretty much the extent of that. And essentially, on my mother's side, her brothers and sisters came, and understanding the gravity of the situation, my uncles, they were visibly disjointed and upset. And we were asked by the social worker, hey, who do you guys want to go with? And she left it up to us. And looking at our uncles, we didn't want to go with them because they were upset, and we didn't know why. You know, we again, like I said, we were devoid of knowledge at this particular time of the situation. So we just looked around the room, and we chose the most familiar face and the most kind and considerate and compassionate face, which was my auntie Yvonne, and that's who we went with, and that's who we stayed with. And from there on in, that was our, familial domestic parent at that particular time.
Can you share with the viewers, like your age? You guys were at what age?
We was 7 years old. 88. We were born in 81. So we were 7 years old. So that was the first grade.
That was the second. I believe that was the second grade. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So the second grade, 1988, and I remember it very, 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 very vividly because I remember in school writing that number 88, and then the next year telling us. No, I remember the year prior writing 88, and then when we went to go stay with our auntie. They telling us, no, it's not 88 anymore. You have to write 89. And that was a struggle for me. That was my struggle at that time.
Why? Why was that your struggle from 88 to 89?
Well, because I didn't, at that time, I didn't have a concept of years change and stuff like that. And plus I was kind of, so that transition. So it was kind of like, I guess that was probably my awakening, to be perfectly honest, where I became aware. Because before then, I can't recall, anything like that whatsoever. Anything with school, like that. But nevertheless, I remember that, and it was very, very significant to me, because it said to me that I was not in familiar territory. It's like something's different. It's a lot of things different.
So being in school, you notice any change in your behaviors while in school, like in January, February, any behavioral, acting out, crying?
Me personally, I became aware that it was not a lot that I understood in school. School didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me, all the way through high school. I didn't understand. I had no concept of why I was there. It wasn't explained to me. It wasn't until recently that I learned that I missed the concept. That a lot of people have. I didn't have a general desire to go to school or any of that. I was confused every day.
Would you say that the trauma caused this problem?
It could have, but there's no way for me really to know. I just know sitting in that class, I didn't know what the hell she was talking about or he was talking about on a day-to-day basis.
Your mind was focused where?
Home. I always wanted to know where my mom was, that was always a concern of mine, is where was my mom? So school didn't really too much matter to me, even at a tender age of 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up through high school.
This explains a lot for me for being a former school psychologist. And when I know when a child is not performing well on standardized testing or in the classroom, I used to dive deeper into their behaviors, and usually what I find is some type of trauma going on, some type of, problems in the household, and then I retest them, knowing what they're going through, and I talk to them, let them talk it out and whatever. And usually when I retest them, they score higher, not significant higher, but higher. Okay, so trauma causes that. You a lot of emotional pain going on, confused. You're 7 years old. Where's my parents? You're stuck. I could give you a story that I moved abruptly I was probably second, third grade. And my father had jobs that one day we were stable, next day he had to go to this construction job, and we had to pack up and move. So we left and moved to Florida, Hollywood, Florida. I sat in the classroom for probably 3 months and just cried. I left all my friends, you know, my familiar neighborhood, familiar school system, overnight. That was trauma for me because, like, wow. Like, and I just look at the map. I just see the state, like, wow, that's home. You know, I'm way down in Florida, like, wow, like, and I sat there and cried, and they put me in a reading group. It was pretty much like really a low reading group. You know, back in the day, they group you by your abilities, right? So I was in a low reading group, and I sat there and I just cried. I cried and I cried. I was going through an adjustment period. And so one day, little cute girl, she was like, what's wrong? She was constantly talking to me. And so one day, the teacher said, you want to read today? So I started reading. So she's like, you in the wrong reading group. So she put me on a group above. Now, a whole different group now. Now I start crying again. Okay? So got over that, started reading again. She's like, you in the wrong group. So she put me in a higher group, right? The highest you can go. And I adjusted, but it was trauma for me. Okay, so parents do behaviors that impacts their children, and they don't even realize the deep emotional pain that they cause. Okay, by my father just up and moving all the time, that was a traumatic event for me. Okay, so what about you, Brandon? Any traumatic experience that you have in school?
Sure. The first time that he and I were split up, I believe that was first grade.
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten was together. Was it kindergarten?
It was kindergarten.
It was kindergarten.
They split us up for the first time in kindergarten.
And man, that was very, very challenging. That was very difficult because a large portion of my identity and his is the other person. Okay. So to the initial shock of being separated for a significant amount of time, which felt like forever. The way that the teachers went about initiating that separation was in and of itself traumatic. Yeah. Because it was abrupt. You know, we're sitting in class, we're together. This is something that we've done. We've developed a routine each day, and then all of a sudden they say, "Oh, they can't be in the class together." And it's not like it was a new school year where, you know, someone had spoken to us and told us, you know, now you're going to be in separate classes. I mean, I didn't think that I was going to see him anymore. I mean, it was just done so jagged and haphazard that it just left a stain. So the focus for me started at an early age to be, you know, kind of just on other things. So I started to pay attention to things that didn't pertain to class, you know, because I was now in unfamiliar territory with people that I didn't know. You know, and that eventually, obviously, we got out of that. Right. But you know, it doesn't take away from the fact that you kind of develop these, you know, bizarre, you know, emotions, you know, being in a place that you're not familiar with, because we did move a lot with people you don't know, and nobody explained, you know, this is just temporary. You're going to see them after school. Let's out. This is only 6 hours. You know, blah, blah, blah. Now, I think someone did eventually have that conversation
they did.
With us, but it was
it was too late at that point. I mean, we was like crying at that point. Like
we were inconsolable.
Yeah, we was inconsolable at that point. And then they came, well, no, you're going to see him again. See, it's right here. You know what I mean? Like, brought, you know.
Who brought, somebody brought the one back.
Yeah, brought to the clinic to see, like, he's here, you know. And the crazy thing about that is, like, as he explains that, they since done away with that. Yeah. You know, since then, they do not separate twins anymore.
Yeah.
You know, especially at that young age. You know, I mean, some parent complained about that, and actually won favor with the school board. I don't know, somewhere. It wasn't in Michigan, of course, but it was somewhere. They won favor with that, and it says that they found out that it causes an excessive amount of anxiety in twins when you separate them at that young age. And it did. And it definitely did for me. I mean, like you said, our identity is tied to one another. I know who I am because I know exactly who he is. Right. You feel me? So when you take that away from me, you was like, okay, well, I don't. Who are you? Yeah. Like, what am I now? What am I doing?
Just to piggyback on, you said that you guys been talking about this from the first show, and the trauma was bedded so deep. So the conversation that you guys been talking about over the last few weeks were,
I mean, riveting. Yeah. We had a great holiday, Thanksgiving, and so with all of my older brothers and sisters, my other sisters, and we were able to kind of like ask for certain details. Obviously, their recall is a lot better because they were older then, and a whole lot more than what we realized occurred. So when my mother and father decided that was going to be the day or the time that they, leave us and go and take care of themselves, apparently, from what I found out, is that this had been going on for a couple of days. So my sisters and my brothers seen my mother and my father acting erratic days prior, which speaks to kind of like, how sheltered we were, how much they protected us from what really was going on. Because my sister said that was her primary focus. Her primary focus was the young ones, where they got to have something. So as my mother apparently was just taking things away days leading up to Christmas, they were putting things back as much as they could. One incident that my sister told me about that was day of is that she entertained the guy, an adult. She's 13 at this time. But she entertained him to get money so she can get some gifts and put it up under the Christmas tree because mom running through everything. The guy almost, something almost happened. That's not what she was there for. She was there just as, I don't know, you're 13-year-old girl, you know what I mean? Like, so she was naive, to assume that, something nefarious wouldn't gonna happen. But nevertheless, nothing did happen, thank God. And she was able to get out of the situation unscathed. She said that one of the questions that was asked was, "Did you get the money out?" You know what I'm saying? I kind of was like waiting for her to tell me, like, "But did you get the money out?" You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so she did get that, and it was something. But apparently, it was a lot longer than what we assumed. We thought it was just like a, saying just wham bam, thank you, man. It happened that day. No, apparently it was a series of events that occurred to lead up to that day. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, we talked about it, got a little clarification, even with my brother learning that he's far more affected by the events that occurred that day than I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Even to this day, the Christmas takes on a different meaning for me. It represents loss and a lack of control. It's the one time that I kind of recall that I was powerless, and I was so unfamiliar with being empowered. I remember that because it was difficult to get food at that time. It was very challenging all the way up until that time, including in the summer. We really had a tough 88, really tough 88. Summer, spring, fall, you name it, it was tough. And that year we had a project in school, and I always did well in school. So, just to, get rid of that. That I was always really, really good in school. And I remember we had a project in art to create a gift for a parent. And I don't recall what I made for my dad, but I recall what I made for my mom. I made my mom not a cookbook, but a shopping list, like a pad where you can, write, different. And I guess in my little child mind, I assumed that the reason we didn't have food is because my parents lacked organization. So I was trying to help. Right. Well, the reason we ain't got food has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with organization. So here, and it wasn't that clearly because that issue didn't go away. But I recall that my mom, she did keep that. She did keep that shopping book, but it just showed that no matter what I did, it didn't help the situation. And though we didn't have, the details of the things that was going on, we didn't have context. Now, clearly, I knew at that particular time, making decisions, probably, we weren't, like the first question we were asked, I think, honestly, seriously, in 88 from an adult was, who do you want to go with? I remember that very, very clearly. That's the only time I felt like we were ever asked for considered, to ask any information. And, and that was, and from there on in, anytime someone asked us a question or asked me a question, I didn't think I was, the right person to answer the question. I didn't, he and I really struggled with, being asked something and giving our opinion.
We didn't have an opinion.
Yeah, we didn't. Because we essentially were. It was not beat out of us. It was trauma out of us. You know what I mean? Like it just we were so young, and we were nobody considered us at that particular time. But we figured out a way to still, kind of make our mark and do our thing.
Yeah, we maneuvered.
Yeah, we definitely maneuvered around, adults. But for the most part, we didn't think that what we thought and, what we had to say was important at all.
No, we didn't feel involved at all. No. But that helped us in a lot of ways because we just kind of cleaved to each other. We just knew that we could rely on each other. And we did. And that helped us even to this day. A lot of people would say, my older brother would say, God rest his soul, he would say that, he said, twins don't need nobody. They don't need friends. They friends need them. Because there's two of them. And we never felt lacking. We never felt like, because once your parents abandon you, you find something to tether yourself to. You know what I mean? Thank God that was my twin brother. So it was like, and just thinking about this right now, it just it's like maybe we were on purpose. Maybe it was divine. That I was born with another individual. You know what I mean? And we, because I can tell you that a lot of twins do not get along like he and I do.
No.
At all. So that's definitely something to take in. But yeah, I mean, it's this story, the situation that we went through. I mean, it's a heck of an unpacking to do, because you do have so many different people's sides of it, and you have to consider them all, including my parents. I have to consider their side. Mm-hmm. What was you going through at that time? I mean, to think about it, Mom in '88 was what? In their 30s?
Yeah, both of them.
In their early 30s.
Yeah.
With 6 miles to feed.
And one in the belly.
In the middle of the crack epidemic.
Yeah.
In Detroit. So, of course, we had our struggles. As children of those people, we have our struggles. So I've been through therapy. I've been through, NA, been through those. And what I learned, I started to humanize my parents. Started to look at them more as individuals instead of my parents. Right. And I started to look at them, and see they struggle. One day, so I called my mom one day, just out of nowhere. I said, Mom, what was you do? Why you ain't leave him? You know what I mean? I'm talking about my father, like he's somebody. It's like, why you ain't X, Y, and Z? Why you ain't, what was you, you ain't had no business messing around with him. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of out of your league. What was you doing? So I started to look at my mom from a different lens. I started looking at my parents from a different lens, and I'm working through that now. Like, looking at them and kind of sizing them up with me and humanizing myself and giving myself the kind of thumbs up to say, hey, Byron, man, everything all right. It ain't that bad. You know what I mean? So, but trauma trauma's trauma. Right.
Brandon, you said that this still impacts you today around Christmas time. Sure. Right? You feel like disconnect with Christmas. Sure. Do your kids and your wife pick up on this?
Yeah, I mean they pick up on it, sure, but I'm really good at letting them enjoy. I don't sabotage their experience. This is my wife's most favorite season and her holiday, so I just make certain that I have enough cash to take care of whatever it is that they want to do. She won't. I think she's up to 3 Christmas trees in the house right now. Started out one, then we wanted another one, and so I kind of let them do their thing, but I'm disconnected, and there is no faking in it for me. I can't fake this connection because things were so real for me at that particular time. This is a holiday where you get to believe in an imaginary guy coming down your chimney, whereas people were waking up that morning to gifts, things that they prayed and wished for. I didn't have parents. That's a tough thing to swallow, and the question comes, well, where was the mental health services? There were none, for us. We've kind of left to our own devices, and I appreciate the adults who stepped up in that circumstance, but didn't take away from the real reality of the circumstance. Is that some children woke up that day, not having parents for whatever reason, and as an adult, I don't give myself an opportunity to kind of lick wounds or anything like that. So, I'll just enjoy my family enjoying the holiday. That's my payment. I don't have to go through that situation, or we don't have to struggle in that way. I can create actively a different reality for them, and so that's my my kind of thumb up to that situation. But I don't have that connection, that that beautiful, can't wait to wake up in the morning at those butterflies. I had it before. I just noticed that I don't have it after, and I would have to point to that situation. So, but I do get gratification out of it. It's just in almost kind of like I don't know, in a observation, of their happiness type thing.
Just seeing your family happy makes you happy. Absolutely. By unmasking this trauma, unmasking what happened, I'm hoping that one day you could kind of like heal. You're still healing from this. Absolutely. Right? Because around Christmas. So when do you notice, like at the time of the year, October, November, you start looking at the holidays like, dang.
Well, it happens so quickly. November Thanksgiving is generally right after that. That's when the anxiety sets in. Of the Christmas tree going up. The Christmas tree was so emblematic of the situation because that was the place where the gifts started to disappear. We had gifts, so that excitement was there, and it's like, oh, I got something, and then you would look and kind of take a picture in your mind, and you would see there's more gifts down there. So as the days got closer, we noticed that the amount of gifts got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then as the days got closer, unfortunately, it went in reverse. So we started seeing things, leave, and then all of a sudden it was nothing there.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm thinking about our childhood memory. This unmasking, so we're going to unmask that. I missed 2 Christmases growing up. I remember my first Christmas I missed. I was 4th grade, and I got upset with my parents. And I said, "Man, you guys had 364 days to save money. What do you mean we're not going to have Christmas? What do you mean?" And I was angry. So I have a brother. We a year apart. Okay, we real close, and we sat down and said we got to lie to our friends. We came up with this list of gifts that we received for Christmas, but we didn't receive gifts, right? Wow. And the kids want to come over our house to play. We like, no, we want to punish, man. You can't come over, right? So, but that was traumatic for me because that was that time we moved a couple of times, and that's a time that my parents didn't have the money. Today, I shop in October. Wow. Okay. Because that's my coping strategy. So I'm gonna make sure the people I love is gonna have gifts. Okay. Like I'm done Christmas shopping.
The most beautiful thing about your story is that you didn't have trauma on top of trauma to make you forget the last trauma. Right. Because we had trauma on top of trauma.
Yeah, it just didn't stop.
I didn't have an opportunity to come up with a resolution for the last one. Right. Because there was so much happening the next year. I think trauma didn't really stop mounting until I would say 2010.
Oh, 2001 for me, when we moved out.
Yeah. No, that's with our parents. Yeah. 2001 for sure when we moved out. Okay. But it didn't stop.
What age? 2001, 2019.
Yeah, 19. Yeah.
When we kind of gained our wings, got our independence.
Yeah, we started doing things ourselves. Then that's kind of like when everything stopped. Yeah. Right, because we was in control. We knew we got up to I think 17 years old and was like, they ain't really got a handle on this. You know what I mean? So we just gonna wait until we're legally able to do this on our own, and then we did, and kind of like this is the result of it.
And that's a good thing. I share a little bit of my stories because a lot of people in this world is dealing with some type of trauma, childhood trauma. Childhood traumas and childhood problems shapes who you are today. Absolutely. Right? And people must understand, like when you come and see me in my office for therapy, I'm going through your childhood. Even though this issue is going on today, or you're dealing with this today, but let's delve deeper into your younger years. And usually I could take them back there and I can usually make a connection of the behaviors today. Okay? So that's the reason why I share a little bit piece of my story, because even though I'm a mental health provider, I'm not perfect. And I'm doing this show to unmask. I'm unmasking me.
Yeah.
Right? And this is no, because I want to be healthy and strong as well. I don't want to carry like grudges, or childhood pain, because it's going to impact me how I interact with people today. Okay, so it's a journey. So listen, question. So your traumatic events, how okay, let me word it so the viewers can understand this. You're building relationships, traumatic experience in the past. How do you build relationship, or do you trust? I know you said you don't even trust your own brother last time. Mm-hmm. I heard you said that, but just connecting with people in a way that, how do you look at them when a new person come into your life? I mean, what the first thing pop in your head? Like you got to meet this new person, this person getting closer to you. Do you feel like I like this person is really cool, but do you feel reserved or some anxiety comes with it?
Initially, me personally, is this all? I'm always fall back. I'm always wait, because I know the shoe gonna drop, and I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. So I'm waiting for you to reveal your true self. You gotta understand. Our mom and our dad did not play the role that they were supposed to play. So trust is like nil. You're gonna have to almost daily prove yourself, which is, don't get me wrong, I know that that's a tall order for anybody, right? But that's the distrust was laid out beforehand. So anybody that comes in my life, it's almost a daily thing. Like you had to almost start over new daily with gaining my trust daily. And the first time I realized that was right now. I realized that I put a lot of people through that. I put you through the first initial almost every single time. And I'm always sitting back and I'm waiting for you to, disappoint me. That's what I'm waiting. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for you to disappoint me. I'm just sitting back. It's coming.
Does it usually happen? Or you thinking it's going to happen?
I tell you something that's unique about trauma, or unique about us humans, or ambition. You can find a way. You can find a way for a person to disappoint you. You know what I mean? You didn't match that up perfectly. That's a disappointment to me. You know what I mean? That's so. Right. I guess it's always confirmed. I'm always looking, for that to be confirmed. I just thought about that deeply right now. I can always find a mistake, because I'm always looking for it.
Does it now you thinking this, you're looking for flaws, right? Always. And like you said, you can find a flaw in everybody, right? Now, how that resonate in your thoughts now? Your thoughts are, you looking at this person, your thoughts are moving. Mm-hmm. Now, you remember now, I'm going to break this down very quickly. Your brain thoughts controls your inner organs. Mm-hmm. Okay? Example, you guys do HVAC, right? And that blower come on in the furnace, right? The blower. What happens that blower never shuts off? What happens to that blower, that motor, that blower motor?
It eventually is going to weaken out and it's going to burn out, right? For sure.
So think about your thoughts now. Your thoughts, your brain is responding to your thoughts. Then your heart will start to racing, your blood, flow faster, right? Your organs start working faster, right? You overheating your body just from a thought. Pay attention to yourself. I always say mindfulness. Journal every night. I journal every single night. Every night. Because I'm calming my thoughts. I'm reflecting on my day. And the question I ask myself at the end of my journal, what can I do better the next day? What can I do to control this feeling? So the next day I go into my day of controlling that feeling, and I replace it with something more like calming for me. So my body won't react to the stresses of my thoughts. We all have them. And these are some strategies that I'm giving you. I'm not saying to do it, but think about what I'm saying. Find some truth in that and tailor it to yourself. Because you're looking for something, and your brain is working. Your thoughts are working. Like, example, you said something last show, and you said, soon your wife walks out the door, you think what's happening? She about to go cheat, right? Mm-hmm. But you telling yourself this. Now, when you're thinking this, what happens in your inner organs now? Think about how your heart feels and your stomach feels and your body is responding to it. Not only your brain, but your entire body.
And we often disconnect it too. You know, we often disconnect our thoughts and think that it has nothing to do with like it's nothing happening to our body, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Feel your sensation. You can feel it. If you slow your thoughts down, our brain is very powerful. If you slow your thoughts down, this I always tell people about our brain. Our brain is an iPhone. A human built that iPhone. And you know how fast that you could search anything with that iPhone, right? Mm-hmm. Or any phone. I'm not trying to promote Apple products, but our brain is so powerful that you could take yourself out your thoughts and look back in at your thoughts. Do that make sense when I say that?
Makes perfect sense. I
never
thought about it like that.
Yeah. You could project your thoughts over here and like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah, and
examine yourself back. And that's how powerful our brain is. Pretty unique. Yeah. Right? So calm yourself. Right? And this is new. You guys been talking about this since the first that shoot we did, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys been talking about it. Mm-hmm. But that's a good thing because you suppressed it for so long. I mean, you maybe talk about it vaguely here and there, but I'm really getting you guys to really dig deep into that trauma now. Right. To really look at yourself and the viewers. I mean, this is big because it's many more people. Trust me. Child welfare system is every day. I used to work in the child welfare system, a long time ago. And it was cases like this all the time. All the time. I'm talking about by the thousands. So somebody's watching this show and somebody gonna find a connect with you guys and find some piece of like calmness to say to themselves like, hey, I need to go get help because I know how they feel because I feel this way today. And so that's why I'm so happy that you guys are here talking about this show because as me being a provider and it's not that many black males in mental health, okay? And I have a waiting list for like 3 months. Okay.
You the first I met.
Right. So listen. So if I was driving myself crazy that I had to take myself to the emergency room. And I'm gonna tell you this story. I had a severe panic attack. I thought I was having a heart attack. And I hear a lot of my clients and patients come in. You guys always hear me say clients and patients. Clients is something like very mild, like relationship problems, marital problems. You know, patients are more moderate to severe. I might have to hospitalize you at any given moment. You get me what I'm saying? So I'm working 12, 13, 14 hours a day trying to help everybody, you know, the African-American population, right? And one day I'm on my way to work. It was snowing outside and the car slid across me. And my chest, oh my God, the pain, the tightness of my chest was so crazy. So I come into the office and my receptionist looking at me like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. So I went in my office and closed the door. I'm sweating. And I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. So I walked back up and she said, I cancel all your patients. You need to go home and rest. She said, you work too hard. I said, no, I'm gonna go to the emergency room. Like she's watching me sweat, but I'm sweating. And she's like, I'm gonna call an ambulance. I said, no, I'm gonna drive myself. you know how males are. We Superman, right? Yeah. And I drove myself to the emergency room, 35 minutes to I left Redford, Michigan, drove to Ann Arbor, Michigan, in the snow, ice. Chest pounding, I'm sweating, I'm crying. I didn't know what was wrong with me. So I walked in, I told them like my chest is hurting. So they rushed me in immediately. And they started running all the tests. Everything was coming back normal. They was like, they took my blood, running all type of tests on me, right? They was like, everything is normal. So I'm laying there like 6 hours later, like, I think I'm having a panic attack. So I told the nurse, hey, I'm a psychologist. Can you ask the doctor, can I have a Xanax? I need about 1 milligram. I need something. I need a heavy dosage because I'm about to test myself now. I said, I'm a psychologist. I think I'm having a panic attack, but I'm not sure. Now I heard people explaining what a panic attack feels like, and she came back. She gave me the Xanax. I swear, within like 30 minutes, I felt like a whole new person. So mental health is very sensitive. I'm sharing this story because I overworked myself. I put too much into my work. And this podcast show is for me to touch millions just by sharing your story. And from my heart, I'm being so sincere right now that you guys sitting with me and talking about this trauma. A lot of the trauma, you just left it there. Remember what you said? You said it was no mental health treatment back then. Your first age getting help, Brandon, was when? You was what age? To say, I need to get help and talk about this.
The first day that I said I needed to get help, 3 years ago.
Oh,
yeah, 3 years ago. Yeah, 2020.
Hey man, we lasted this long, man. We did pretty good, man.
We were. We
need an award
for winging it. Nothing illegal. Nobody got hurt.
No murders. No kids out of wedlock. No. Like yeah, man. We one thing that I will say, and this is the best thing about having a twin, is that it's an echo chamber.
Okay.
So we talk back and forth to each other. Even when he forgets, I remember.
Right.
You see, so we don't ever allow each other to fall off. So what he's saying is like, yeah, the reason why we lasted this long, mentally sound, is because of the fact that we were born together.
Yeah. I can. We typically say, generally, especially when we're going off, we'll say, especially because everybody knows when you can't trust your own thoughts. So a lot of times I'll give them a call, especially if I'm in a tough spot. I say, "Hey, talk me off the ledge." Mm-hmm. Now I know that's it's not
it's probably gonna bleep that out. But
I mean, essentially, it can be something as innocuous as, I don't quit this job. Right. Yeah. I'm thinking of quitting this job, or I'm thinking of ending this relationship. Talking me off the ledge, and he's going to be the counter to my point. And a lot of times it does. Actually, no. 100% of the time it helps. A lot of times you just don't.
Even my
you just. But the same here. Yeah. A lot of times you just need to hear what you're not willing to say, because we know the right thing that we need to do.
He has this saying. He was the first person to tell me this, man, which was like dope as hell. He was like, man, sometimes you too close to the wall to see the house.
That's true.
So I need your opinion because I'm looking at the wall.
Yeah.
I like that one. I like that. You too close to the wall to see the house. Yeah. I like that saying.
Can you appreciate
the gravity of the decision that you're about to make? You about to destroy the whole house because of that one hole right there that could easily be patched. It's a whole house, homie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't make a decision off of this one hole, man.
You can fix that hole.
Yeah, you can fix that hole, man. You know, you got a whole house, bro. You know what I mean? And we do that back and forth. We do that back and forth with each other, and that's why we were able to, I guess, stave off clinical psychology for so long.
Right.
It's because we psyched each other.
Right.
You know, we help that process with each other. Just talking it out.
As much as
it's
we
nuts.
You know, I'm gonna always talk to you guys in the future. 'Cause it's some stuff I really want to dig deep. We'll talk about that off camera, right?
Oh, man.
But the
Way
purpose of this is I want the world to see that men, black men, could get some help.
Absolutely.
Because the stigma is so crazy in our community, and it frowned upon as of being weak.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you're not weak. You understand me what I'm saying? So my dad, I could hear my dad. My dad's always say, tears don't save the day. Stop crying, suck it up. And when he died, I'm in the funeral like this. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. Like, because I couldn't never cry in front of him. And I told you, it came out later, like 4 years later. I just fell apart. Like, I was on the football field, scored a touchdown, and I just fell apart. They had to drag me off the field. I couldn't walk. I couldn't, man, that was a dark moment in my life. And I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. Because mental health in the black community, I'm from Mississippi. My family's from Mississippi. So southern states is totally different from northern states, right? Southern states.
What you trying to say? We suck?
No. Southern states, I love my southern people. Because sometimes it can be very dysfunctional too.
Okay.
Because things in the southern states, or when you especially live back in the woods, we call it, back down yonder.
Yeah, backwoods.
It's nothing there for help. You can't get really. Go to Mississippi right now and look at the difference from Michigan and Mississippi. I love my Mississippi people. Don't. I'm not talking about Mississippi. I'm not. I'm just saying it's just a difference. It's a difference of help. Okay. So it's deep. Like, dealing today with the impact of that trauma in your childhood. How did it impact your self-esteem, your self-worth today?
Well, for me, it made me it made me realize that I'm extremely resilient. That was a traumatic event. Things that people have gone through in their life, even a fraction of it, would, render them completely debilitated. But for something so massive to go through it as a child, and to experience relative success and have children and have a family, kind of gives you an opportunity, especially when you reflect on, the things that happened in the past, and you get an opportunity to kind of evaluate your life now, coming into, Christmas of 2023 versus 1988. You look back and compare the two, and you realize that you're doing pretty okay. Sure, there's things that you need to improve on, but when you think about that kid that was there and powerless to do anything about the circumstances that they found themselves in that morning, you can do something about it as an adult, and it helps to kind of be able to compare the two and see the stark contrast. So, nothing I can do about it in the past, and anything that I try and do to, resolve it in the future is fruitless, because, I'm now thinking about me. But I can definitely transfer, the things that I wanted in terms of the feeling and the emotion, then to, the people that I truly impact today. So it kind of helped me to, focus on what's more important, which is outside of myself. And now I can look at my parents and realize, hey, they were trying to do something good. They were trying to, take care of the most important people in that house for them, which was them. We're important too, but they can only do so much if they're, a portion of a small portion of who they need to be. So I'm okay with that.
Really little to none. I mean, and when we was kind of talking about that, and I learned that he was a lot more impacted with the situation than I was. I just, in retrospect, I look at the situation, I'll be like, oh man, that's kind of sloppy. I wouldn't do that. But at that moment, did it resonate with me? No, it didn't. Holidays for me, they're still the same. They're joyous for me. I love Christmas music. I love Christmas time. I don't think about, my mom and my dad not being there on that day, because it was just so much other things that were positive that happened. So I didn't, that was like, okay, yeah, it was an asterisk on that day, but it wasn't a big asterisk at all. I mean, what we enjoyed and what we did on that day was in bold letters. And I probably wanted to, hell, if that person showed up, we would have been there. You know what I mean? If she would have came that night, which was my father's cousin, who threw the Christmas party, if she would have showed up, we definitely probably would have went back there, because I had more food to eat and a game to play.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? So I guess maybe I was a little bit compromised that day off of the nostalgia of the day. You know what I mean? So it didn't really, the severity of the situation really didn't sink in as much as it did for my brother, and he probably saved me from that.
So what advice would you give others who are listening to this show? What advice what would you give them? What would you give them? What would you say to them? Like, hey,
with a situation like that, you got to understand that your parents are humans. Okay, they're your parents, but they were whoever the hell they were before they had you, and that's a human, and humans are fallible. We make mistakes, and with that, you have to have a lot of forgiveness in your heart. You have to. You have to understand that people make mistakes. They're not perfect, and neither are you. As much as you think that you are perfect, somebody else may have a different point of view. And you got to accept that.
Indeed, I agree. People are who they were prior to you. It took my mom and dad, 30 some odd years to become who they were on that day, and who they were when we met them. And people are going to make mistakes. And I think that we need to do a better job of giving people permission to be who they are. It's a very hard and tough task to live up to the ideas and expectations of, let's be honest, strangers. And we try and do it, every day, all day, even your parents, even your brothers and sisters. It's not fair to hold them accountable for your expectations. And I think that if we give each other, a little bit more license to be human, which is to be, fallible,
Imperfect.
and imperfect, I think we have a little bit better experiences with one another, especially if we just kind of rip all of these expectations off, and even, some of the experiences, even if you say, okay, I'm gonna give you that one, yeah, that hurt, that was kind of tough, but I'm gonna give you that one because you're not perfect. And then we'll just kind of start new. And if we got to fumble through life with one another, then we'll just fumble through life. But at the very least, we can look for better days in the future, And that's kind of like what I've kind of learned, I'm not looking for perfect, I'm just looking for practical, And if we can do that, then we're good. So that's what I would leave anyone with. You know, hey, try every day and give it a good, honest attempt.
I can't imagine. That's why I'm struggling asking you guys these questions. Like, I'm in deep in my emotions now. The things that you guys shared today on this podcast show. And I thank you guys for coming on and sharing this. And I'm hoping, I'm praying that you guys touch someone out there. Because I know people are dealing with this. I told you when I worked for child welfare, it was thousands of cases that people, little young kids, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, were snatched out their home and placed not with their siblings, but with just strange people. So I'm choked up a little bit, but hey, you know,
That's your profession.
You know, but yeah, it's deep. It's deep. So, and sometimes cases get me. You know, sometimes when I can't handle it, I'm gonna have to send you away because I'm gonna attach my emotions. I'm gonna get too deep involved with you, and once that starts to happen, I'm like, okay, you gotta go see someone else because I gotta stay. I can't have that relationship with you. You understand me what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
and that's deep.
For y'all to have that, man, like you all, you know, and I mean, I had a therapist, and I did not know why she rescheduled the next appointment that we had, but she did, and you know, they told me the office called me and told me that we had to reschedule. So okay, all right, no problem, no skin off my back, you know, whatever. But the next time that we got on, which was the next week, I talked to her and she said, yeah, I had to reschedule. You know, my apologies. But I had to reschedule basically because of you. Because my goodness, you know what I mean, your story is like, it's just not fair. That's what she kept on saying. She said, it's not fair. It's like, whoa, like, oh my goodness, like it's just back to back to back to back to back. You never had a chance to heal. You know, that you never had. I said, no, but I don't, you know, but that's the thing. I don't look at it like that. I don't look at it as like a chance to heal. I look at it as, I mean, weight is weight. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what's heavy to one person is just a warm up to another one. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, what decision did I have to make at that time? Well, because I'm sitting here, I had to look at it as not weight. I had to look at it as just heavy. You know what I mean? I had to look at it, you know what I'm saying? I had to look at it just something to overcome. You know what I mean? I had to minimize the situation. I think that's probably like my gift and my curse. I minimize a lot of situations. So, you know, even to the audience, you know, if I would speak to the audience and I would say anything, like everything that we went through, the sum total of it all would equal up to just simply this. Man, enjoy yourself. Just enjoy the best parts of your life.
I will definitely, I'm gonna bring you guys back. It's gonna be on a different topic, but still dealing with the same thing. I want you guys to unleash all of this, okay? And that's your therapy right here, sitting with me, right? You know, so hey, you know, so and we're gonna get there. So the word of the week for my viewers: your mental health is a priority. Your happiness is an essential. Your self-care is a necessity. Remember to take care of yourself because you deserve to be at peace. Thank you, viewers, and I will see you next time on the podcast show. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe and follow us on social media.